Hey guys, Charling here and welcome back. And this is Ride 2, and as you can probably tell from the video on the screen, it is a motorbike racing game. However, this is not a new release. Apparently it only came out in North America 2 days or 3 days ago, but it was released on Steam, I guess for Europe and everywhere else a few months ago. So this is not a new video by any means or a new game by any means. But I had the opportunity to get a review code for the game and actually check it out. And it piqued my interest because the reviews on Steam were pretty decent. And I've been wanting to try out a motorbike racing game for a pretty long time since I haven't played one for ages. And I was curious to see how far they'd come since I last played one. And so I've played a few hours with the game and I feel ready to give you guys my impressions of the game. So for those of you who are interested in motorbike racing games, maybe this is an interesting watch. Now, before we get started into the game itself, there were two issues that I have to mention. The first thing is that when you're in the rewind camera, there's a bit of jittering going on, as well as when your opponent's displayed in your rearview mirror. And I don't know why that's caused. I don't know if it's connected, it's a problem with the G-Sync in the game, or if it's an issue with the high refresh rate. I tried changing the refresh rate in the external launcher, but unfortunately changing it there doesn't do anything at all. So I think if you guys do want to limit your refresh rate, you're going to have to use NVIDIA Inspect or something like that to do so. The other thing I would say is if you do have access to a controller, definitely play this game with a controller. Yes, you can use the keyboard as well. But the problem with this game, and I think many other racing games as well, is that you aren't going to get that analog input that's going to be able to have you fine-tune your acceleration or your cornering, which I think is relatively important, perhaps even more important in a game like this, when you are leaning around corners and you want to be able to accelerate through corners without having to stop completely and keep tapping the left and right or forward and backward keys and things like that. So I'd highly recommend that. The other problem with that is I found using the keyboard to navigate the menus and then going into the game forced me to use the keyboard. I wasn't able to switch to my controller, even though in the menus themselves I can use both keys and a controller. So this time around I'm only using the controller to navigate all these menus, since I don't want that issue to happen again, because I do want to play through this video with a controller rather than the keyboard. My other complaint with the game is the visuals. It looks a little bit dated for a game that came out so recently, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're more focused on the racing, and I think in a game like this, the more important thing is that the racing mechanics and the feel of the racing and the controls are spot on rather than the game looking amazing. So the good news is the game feels good when playing. So yeah, I think without further ado, let's get into the game itself. There are a number of different events in the game. This game has a fair amount of content, to be fair. We have seasonal events. So seasonal events, you can see, are divided into 4 categories. We've got urban style, street icons, hypersport, and pro racing. These all require different types of bikes in order to race in these, and each of these has 3 difficulty categories that you can race in. So you can see when I mouse over this, it says gold medals 4 of 24. So that's just 24 across all of these. And then of course you've got the same for all of these other categories as well. And when you play through any one season of this and you come first, it basically unlocks an invitational, which gets me to this next screen. These invitationals, you can see I've finished 2 of them. You can see all the rest are locked because this requires me to finish more seasons. And what the invitationals are, you can see of 16 of them, by winning an invitational, they give you 1 of 2 bikes that you can choose. So you don't have to buy the bike at all, which is nice indeed. So by winning seasons, you unlock more invitationals and you get free bikes essentially from doing this, which is nice. And you can see each invitational has different requirements. So some are for faster bikes, some are for different types of bikes, so on and so forth. The other thing is championships. I haven't actually done any championships yet because, this requires seasonal events. And you can see here for 2 strokes up to 300 pp. Urban style requires me to get 16 amateur medals, which I don't have yet. So that requires me to finish the season for, I guess all the amateur racing, something like that. So I haven't, unfortunately, not unlocked these in my time with the game so far. Then there's team versus team, which I'm not entirely sure what this does. Rider position 10, team position 2. Yeah, okay, I'm a long way from that because my rider position, I think, is 233. And here we can check my world ranking. It's currently 234, apparently. So as you play through all the seasons and you get points, you'll start getting ranking points as well. And you'll gradually start making your way up this tree because you'll increase your reputation. So that's something that just happens from you playing the game, basically. You've got quick modes, as you would expect in any racing game. So quick race, time trial, split screen if you want to play locally with a friend. You've got my bikes. So this shows you your garage of bikes. You can see that I currently have 4 different bikes. All of these bikes are customizable to an extent. Like if I head into the bike customization over here, you can see you can change a number of things with each of the bikes, air filter, exhaust, and things like that. Some of these parts affect your performance. We can see on the right hand side, acceleration, braking power, top speed, and handling. But not all of them. Some of them are purely visual customizations. You'll learn which of these actually changes performance and which of them are basic aesthetic customizations to your bike. And then of course you can change, these are all completely aesthetic, they'll change the colors of the various parts of the bike. You can change your paint job, but unfortunately there aren't that many selections with this. But you'll find something that you're kind of happy with, and then you can customize the bits and pieces on the bike rather than the whole thing. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more customization, I think, with the bike itself. But that's fine. There are so many bikes in the game, so that really, I suppose, is a non-issue, to be honest. And then you can go through all of these customizations with all of your bikes as well. If you feel that you want to get more bikes, you can go visit by manufacturer, you can sort by category, or you can show the complete list over here. You can see in the top right hand corner I have credits and I have tokens. The tokens are for doing daily challenges and things like that. The credits you get just from playing quick races or normal races or seasons or whatever it is. You gradually start accumulating credits for each race, depending on how well you do. It will determine how much you get. And then you can actually come in here and you can see you can buy these different bikes and you can see the prices and the bike. Now if I just hold the analog stick, you can see there are a lot of bikes. A lot of bikes in this game. A lot of bikes. So yeah, there's a lot of bikes to unlock, so that's going to keep you busy, especially if you are really into your motorbike. I'm not such a big motorbike person, so I don't know all these different models. All I can go is by what I think looks cool, But for those of you who know a lot about bikes, yeah, you'll be pretty happy with the selection here. These bikes with the white icons are DLC bikes. Those are separate DLC you have to pay for on the Steam store, so yep, that's a thing as well. But yeah, you get access. Even without those, you have very, very many bikes, and all of them can be customized with the customizations that I was just showing you guys earlier. So yeah, there's a lot here. The rider customization isn't as elaborate as the bike customization, unfortunately. If I click on my rider over here, you've got 5 presets, so you can choose a preset that you like. Yeah, there's some customization with the helmets and things like that. So yes, and that'll cost you 1,000 credits. Wow, that's an expensive helmet, isn't it? Then you can of course go to your visors. There's a bunch of different visor colors that you can choose from. You can choose brands, and then once you're in your brands, you can actually choose your different types of gloves and things like that. Let's take these matches a helmet for 500. So yeah, you can go through all of these parts. You can customize your rider. But again, it's like your bike. You have your overall paint colors, that you can't change too much, but you can customize the little bits and pieces of your gear. Rider badges, these are basically like achievements, that you can get as well. Ride bonus, you get a whole bunch of these things for doing challenges, so on and so forth. Your challenges, you've got daily challenges and you've got weekly challenges. So you can see here there's an easy, medium, and hard challenge. It tells you which race types you can do and what objective you need to get. So for example, if we can actually try and get the easy challenge, and I say easy challenge because I'm not particularly good at this game. I'll tell you that right now. Don't even expect me to come first. We got race types, quick race, single race, online single race, and what type of bike that we are required to use for that. And we get these tokens. I'm not entirely sure what the tokens do at this point. And then of course you got the weekly challenge as well, which is not a list. It's an actual, this is the race you have to do. And you can see the token rewards and the time that you have to get, which try this, it's not that easy. So we won't be doing that challenge today. It can make me look like even more of an idiot. Let's see, and of course you've got race options and you've got leaderboards over here. And that's it for the content. I mean, that's a lot of content. There's a lot of tracks in the game as well. Okay, so before we head into the race here, you can see there are a number of different options to play on. I've gotten all the default settings. The game starts up these settings. Partially because I'm new and I still have to learn all the tracks and the mechanics of the game. But for those of you who are quite familiar with motorbike racing games, you can change the AI difficulty quite significantly all the way up to realistic. And then of course you can turn aids off, and your physics you can go up to pro if that is something you do want to do. And you can turn off all the aids like auto braking and anti-wheelie and tucking in and all those kinds of things. Ideal trajectory you can have at corners only, or you can turn it off entirely. So this is all going to be based on your personal preference and how hardcore you are. For me, I'm going to leave everything as default. I'm only going to keep the race length at 1 since I think this is a relatively long track. With regard to tracks, before I forget, you can see there are a number of different tracks in the game, quite a few actually. Each of these icons has an actual selection of other tracks as well. So yeah, there are a lot more tracks than you would initially think just by going through this list. So yeah, as I said before, a lot of content. You can go to your bike settings here as well. So you can look at suspension, you can change your preload and all of this stuff. I have not fiddled with any of this. As I said, I don't know anything about bikes. I don't know anything about bike racing. So I dare not fiddle with any of these, well, at least not yet. Then of course you've got your gear ratios as you'd expect to find in any racing game. Again, I'm not going to change any of these things. You can see we have third person here. You can zoom out even more. You've got your dash cam video, you've got your dash cam with a helmet, and then of course you've got no cam at all. No cam, no dashboard at all. So you can play like this. I know some people enjoy playing third person this way, which you can do depending on your preference. Me personally though, I usually prefer playing in first person camera for these kinds of games, so I'm going to go ahead and switch back to first person camera. Let's see if we can do relatively well in this race. I think the racing line is very, very helpful, especially for a new player like me. You know, it helps you to learn the track without having to keep looking at the little track map on the side. And then once you get more comfortable with the controls, you can start turning off some of the assists and things like that. But again, I'm pretty new at the game, so I'm keeping everything on as the default settings. There is a rewind as well, so I'm just going to demonstrate that now. You can actually just rewind if you feel that you've done something wrong or you've crashed or whatever, so you can just do that. You can press X and, you know, go back to where you were. There are no limits on the amount of rewinds that you can do, and as far as I can tell, you don't lose points for using it at all. You know, it's not like, oh, you used rewind 3 times, so therefore you lose X amount of credit or points or whatever. So there's no reason not to use it if you if you crash, for example, you know. Okay, so we're coming in 8th place. Let's see if we can catch up with these guys. Oh, that's bad. I think if I was on Pro Physics there, that would have been a wipe. And so with this, actually. So getting to grips with the controls in this game, it's a whole nother beast compared to normal racing games. This is where it's handy with an analog controller. You can only partially accelerate, which is very, very helpful. So without actually stopping entirely, should be able to take out this guy. Okay, we're in 4th place. Come on. But the game is very enjoyable, actually. I'm not going to say I'm surprised. I do enjoy racing games. Oh, yes, 2nd place. Alright, see if we can catch up with this guy before the end of the track. As long as I don't screw up. No, that's bad. Bad corner. Come on. See if we can beat this guy. We need to slow down here. Yes. No, get out the way. Oh, no. Time to use our rewind. You can see the funny flickering that happens there. That's a good example of what I was talking about earlier. I don't know what's causing that. Okay, that's going to happen. I think we have to rewind a little bit further. Come on. Yes. And we've taken 1st place. Okay, as long as I don't screw up like that. Oh, that's going to screw us. I'm going to rewind a bit. I don't know why it's showing my keyboard controls. They should show my controller inputs instead. Very strange indeed. Okay, let's slow down here before we get to the corner. Here we go. Much better. I like that you can do that. Obviously, your purists out there are probably not going to want to do that. Oh, he's right behind me. He's right behind me. This is a really long track. I think this must be the end coming up. It has to be, surely. Here we go. Okay, so wow, we won that with a few errors and rewinds. And you can see it rewards us with credits, the bonus credits because of race options, and then the total amount. We got a new badge, champion, so that's cool. And then you'll see that we'll get ranking points as well, reputation points, sorry. So if we click here, the game has Steam achievements, obviously. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's been a look at Ride 2. If you guys do enjoy racing games and you like motorbikes, this is probably a no-brainer. The game is good, even though it looks a little bit dated, but it has a ton of customizable difficulty options and things, so you can set your experience to how you want it. So yeah, I would recommend this to those of you who like racing and motorbikes. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, otherwise you can let me know in the comment section below. That's been a look at Ride 2. I've been Charling, and I'll see you guys next time.